Running a small business, I mean, it's like, it's like building a house of cards in a windstorm. You're constantly like hustling and keeping everything balanced, and then boom, cyber attack and blows it all down.
Right.
Today, we are diving deep into how to fortify those cards, looking specifically at cybersecurity for small businesses. And we have some fascinating material from PCS Florida, a company that helps businesses navigate this tricky digital landscape.
Yeah, and it is tricky. We tend to think of those massive data breaches happening to, huge corporations.
Right.
But the reality is, small businesses, they are often even more vulnerable.
Really? Why is that? I would think a smaller company would be less of a target.
Well, sometimes hackers, they see them as easier targets. Maybe they assume they haven't invested as much in security. And think about it, you're juggling so many things as a small business owner.
Right.
Cybersecurity, it might not always be top of mind. But the material we're looking at today, it emphasizes that it really needs to be.
Okay, so let's unpack that a little bit. What are some of those specific cybersecurity challenges small businesses face, and how can they start to address them? I see here that PCS Florida talks a lot about the need for proactive threat detection and prevention. What does that even mean in practice?
It means moving beyond that old set it and forget it mentality.
Right.
Cyber threats, they are constantly evolving, so your defenses need to evolve too. Imagine trying to protect a medieval castle from invaders, but you only have a moat and a drawbridge.
Yeah.
You'd be in trouble pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's not a good strategy. So we're talking about modern-day equivalents of moats and drawbridges, but in the digital world.
Exactly. PCS Florida, they highlight the importance of 247 monitoring, using tools like intrusion detection systems and firewalls.
Okay, hold on. Before we go any further, can you explain those a little more in depth? I think a lot of people hear firewall and have a vague idea, but what's really going on under the hood?
It's actually quite fascinating. A basic firewall, it acts as a gatekeeper between your network and the outside world.
Okay.
It analyzes incoming and outgoing network traffic. It looks for anything suspicious based on a set of rules. Think of it like a bouncer at a club, only allowing traffic that meets the entry requirements. And an intrusion detection system, well, that's like that security camera system we were talking about earlier.
Okay.
Except it's constantly scanning your network for any signs of malicious activity.
Okay, so firewalls, they're checking IDs at the door, and intrusion detection systems are keeping an eye on things inside the club. Makes sense. But doesn't all this constant monitoring, especially with these sophisticated systems, get pretty expensive? I could see a small business owner balking at that cost.
That's a fair point, and I think there's a misconception that robust cybersecurity is only for big corporations.
Right.
But the materials from PCS Florida, they challenge that idea. They emphasize that they tailor their solutions to different businesses' needs and budgets.
So it's not about having every single bell and whistle. It's about choosing the right level of security for your specific situation.
Exactly. It's about working with experts who can help you identify your vulnerabilities and implement the most effective solutions for your budget, because the cost of not having proper cybersecurity can be far greater than the investment itself.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And what are we talking about when we say cost? I mean, besides the obvious financial hit, what are the real-world consequences of a cyber attack for a small business?
Well, the material, it uses the word catastrophic to describe the impact of data loss, which might sound a bit dramatic, but think about what happens if your customer data is stolen.
Right.
Your financial records are corrupted, your entire system is held hostage by ransomware. I mean, it could cripple your business.
Oh, absolutely. So data protection is critical. PCS Florida mentions both on-site and cloud storage options for backing up data. Can you break those down for us a bit?
Yeah.
What are the pros and cons of each approach, and how do they fit into a larger strategy?
Think of on-site backups as having a spare key hidden under your doormat. It's handy to have in a pinch, but someone could find it if they really wanted to.
Yeah.
On-site backups, they are great for quick restores, but they might not be enough if, your entire office burns down or your hardware gets stolen. Cloud storage, well, that's like having that spare key with a trusted friend in a secure location. It's less vulnerable to physical threats and usually offers more robust security features.
So ideally, you'd want a combination of both.
Exactly. That's the idea behind a multi-layered approach to security.
Right?
Having multiple lines of defense to protect your data no matter what happens.
Okay, so we've got our moats, our drawbridges, security cameras, and spare keys. We're starting to build a pretty solid fortress here.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing there's more to it than just technology.
You're absolutely right. Even with the most advanced technology, a single click on a phishing email can bring the whole thing crashing down.
That's a good point. I saw that PCS Florida emphasizes the importance of employee training and awareness.
It's essential. The human factor is often the weakest link in the cybersecurity chain.
So how do we address that? What kind of training are we talking about? Is it just telling people not to click on suspicious links?
It needs to be more comprehensive than that. It's about educating employees about different types of cyber attacks,
Right.
teaching them how to spot phishing emails and other scams, and instilling a culture of cybersecurity awareness within the company.
So it's not just about telling people what not to do. It's about empowering them to make smart decisions and actively participate in protecting the business. I like that approach. It makes it everyone's responsibility, not just the IT departments.
Exactly. And PCS Florida, they even offer simulated phishing attacks as part of their training program.
Oh, that's interesting. Like a fire drill, but for cyber attacks.
Exactly. It helps employees learn to identify threats in a safe environment so they're better prepared when a real attack happens.
Okay, so we've covered proactive threat detection, the importance of data backup, and employee training. We're really starting to get a handle on this cybersecurity thing.
We're making progress, but there's still a lot more to explore.
And we'll be back after a quick break to dive into those other critical aspects of cybersecurity for small businesses. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We are in the midst of fortifying our small business house of cards against those cyber wins. And before the break, we were talking about employee training, that human element of cybersecurity.
Right. Yeah, and it's crucial, but training alone won't cover everything. There's another piece of the puzzle that can trip up even the most well-intentioned small business owner.
Oh, okay, you got me curious. What's this potential pitfall we need to watch out for?
Well, think about all the different vendors you rely on to run your business. Software providers, payment processors, your cloud storage, even your cleaning crew has some level of access.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. Every single one of them represents a potential point of vulnerability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
PCS Florida calls this third-party vendor risk assessment. You might have top-notch security in your own company, but if one of your vendors has lax practices, it's like leaving a back door wide open.
So how do you even begin to tackle that? It seems like a logistical nightmare to vet the security practices of every single vendor you work with.
It can be complex, but it's absolutely necessary. PCS Florida, they actually specialize in helping businesses with this. They conduct thorough risk assessments of vendors, looking for any red flags that could put your business at risk. It's like having a security consultant, check the locks on all those back doors we were talking about.
So it's not just about trusting that your vendors are doing their due diligence.
Yeah.
It's about verifying it.
Precisely. And that verification process, well, it might involve looking at their security policies, their data encryption methods, their employee training programs, and even conducting penetration testing to see how well their systems hold up against simulated attacks.
Wow, that's pretty intense. It sounds like something that would be way out of reach for most small businesses.
You'd think so, but PCS Florida emphasizes that they offer scalable solutions to fit different budgets. They understand that not every small business can afford a full-blown security audit for every vendor.
So it's about finding that balance again,
Right.
determining the level of risk each vendor represents, and tailoring the assessment accordingly.
Exactly. And it's an ongoing process, not a one-time thing. As your business grows and evolves, you'll need to constantly reevaluate your vendors and make sure their security practices are still up to par.
This is a lot to think about. We've talked about technology, human error, and now vendor risk. It feels like we're adding layers of complexity. But I guess that's the nature of cybersecurity, right?
It is complex, but that's why it's so important to have trusted partners to help you navigate it all. And speaking of partners, we've been focusing a lot on the services PCS Florida provides. But this really highlights a broader point.
Which is?
Well, finding the right cybersecurity expertise is critical, especially for small businesses. It's not something you can just, do it yourself. And it's not just about finding a company that offers the latest tech gadgets. It's about finding a partner who understands your unique needs and can guide you through the process.
So it's like finding a good doctor, someone you trust to give you the right advice and treatment, even if it's not always the easiest or cheapest option.
That's a great analogy. And just like you wouldn't hesitate to seek medical advice when you're sick, you shouldn't hesitate to seek expert help when it comes to cybersecurity.
I'm sensing a theme here. Proactive, informed, and in partnership with experts. Okay, I think I'm starting to get the hang of this cybersecurity mindset.
You're getting it. And remember, even with all these precautions in place, you need to be prepared for the possibility that something could still slip through the cracks. No system is 100% foolproof.
So what happens if the worst case scenario does occur and your business is hit with a cyber attack? What are the steps you need to take to mitigate the damage and recover quickly?
That's a crucial question, and one we'll explore in more detail in the next section. Because even if your house of cards does fall, there are ways to rebuild it, stronger than before.
Let's do it. Okay, we're back. And I have to admit, after that last segment, I'm feeling a little like we've entered the danger zone here. We've talked about all these precautions you can take, but what happens if a cyber attack gets through? I feel like that's when things get really scary.
Yeah, it's definitely when the stakes get higher, but it's not the time to panic. Having a solid incident response plan in place can make all the difference. Think of it as your like break glass in case of emergency plan.
So we got our fortress, we're training our guards, we're checking the locks and the back doors, but now we need an escape route and a damage control plan.
Precisely. Yeah. You need to know what to do the moment an attack is detected. Who do you call? What systems do you shut down? How do you contain the damage? These are all things you need to figure out beforehand, not in the heat of the moment.
That makes sense. You don't want to be, scrambling to find the fire extinguisher when the kitchen's already up in flames.
Right. And just like with fire drills, you need to practice your incident response plan regularly. Make sure everyone on your team knows their role and what steps to take.
This is all starting to feel a bit overwhelming, to be honest. But I guess that's why we're doing this deep dive, right? To shine a light on these complexities and hopefully empower small business owners to take action.
Exactly. Yeah. Cybersecurity, it's a journey, not a destination. There's always going to be something new to learn, a new threat to adapt to. But by staying informed, being proactive, and working with trusted experts, you can significantly reduce your risk.
And speaking of trusted experts, we've been talking a lot about PCS Florida and the services they provide. What stands out to you about their approach, especially in the context of helping small businesses?
Well, one thing I appreciate is they don't just throw technology at the problem. They emphasize the importance of understanding each business's unique needs and vulnerabilities. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Yeah, I noticed they offer free resources on their website, like educational materials and even cybersecurity learning modules. That seems like a good sign that they're genuinely committed to educating businesses, not just selling them something.
I agree, yeah. They seem to understand that informed businesses are better equipped to make smart decisions about their cybersecurity.
So to bring this all back to our listeners, what's the one key takeaway you want them to walk away with from this deep dive?
I'd say it's this. Cybersecurity is not just an IT issue, it's a business issue. It needs to be a priority for everyone from the CEO to the newest employee.
And that's why we've been talking about fortifying that house of cards from all angles, right? Strong passwords, secure systems, vendor checks, employee training, and an incident response plan in case things go wrong.
Exactly. It's a multifaceted approach that requires ongoing vigilance and adaptation.
But it's an approach that can ultimately make the difference between a thriving business and one that crumbles under the pressure of a cyber attack.
Well said. And remember, you don't have to go it alone. There are resources and experts out there to help you every step of the way.
Absolutely. If you're feeling overwhelmed or unsure where to start, reach out to a company like PCS Florida. Have a conversation, ask questions, and get informed.
The best defense is a good offense, and knowledge is your most powerful weapon.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into cybersecurity for small businesses. We hope you found it insightful and empowering. Stay safe out there.